Hello, everybody. We are actually live. Do you want to introduce Pamela, Alyssa? I feel she got center stage there. I don't want to cut her off.
No, we should introduce the real Pamela.
Okay. Well, hey, everybody in webcast land. I am Grant Faulkner, and I'm many things. A writer, executive director of National Novel Writing Month, friend of Laura Albert, who has also been known as JT LeRoy. And we are here tonight to celebrate A Heart is Deceitful Above All Things, which is now available for the first time ever in audiobook. And if you don't know the collection of stories that makes up A Heart is Deceitful Above All Things, it's 10 short stories that form a novel about the childhood of Jeremiah, who is torn from his foster parents at the age of 4 when his emotionally disturbed mother reclaims him and then runs away with him. It's about much more than that, of course. And one of the things I admire most about Laura is how she brings together a disparate cast of characters wherever she goes. You just have to experience one of her birthday parties to realize the wide assortment of people she knows and brings together in really amazing ways, both on the page and in life. And the narrators for A Heart is Deceitful Above All Things, there are 21 narrators who came on board to bring these stories to audiobook life, and they're just amazing. We've already done one webcast with readers, and I was just spellbound by listening to them. And now we have, I believe, 9 narrators here tonight, if my count's right. And the plan for this celebration is for each narrator to read a short piece and to share some insight into how they approach the stories, and to have a conversation about this story collection by way of questions from you, the audience. So please use that Q&A button, which you'll see at the bottom of your screen, and just ask questions in the panel there, of the panel here. You can ask anything, and we'll do our best to answer them in this hour-long program. So this will end around 7. And I should note, the audiobook is now widely available beyond audible.com. It's available on libro.fm, downpour.com, wherever you get your audiobooks, basically. And we wanted to note that Libro FM is a strong partner of independent bookstores. So you can mention, I've been told that I can mention the audiobook is available via indie bookstores partnering with Libro FM. So maybe that's a good place to go. So, hey, I want to start by introducing some of our key guests, starting with Nicole V Gagne. Nicole is a writer and editor who works with Laura. She is the co-producer of the audiobooks of Sarah and The Heart is Deceitful Above All Things. And her video, The Importance of Being JT LeRoy, can be seen on YouTube. She is the author of several books about music, most recently the revised and expanded 2nd edition of her Historical Dictionary of Modern and Contemporary Classical Music. Welcome, Nicole. Great to see you.
Dear, so good to see you.
Wonderful bookshelf behind you.
Oh, it's a back projection, Pseudo-Intellectual 3. It's called. It has a diversity, but doesn't go overboard. So I said, as soon as I saw it, I said, plug me in.
Okay, well, that sounds wonderful too, even if the books aren't real. It is real. Okay. Oh, I thought it was like some Zoom background.
I knew I'd get somebody.
You got me. Okay, that wasn't fair. Well, I've introduced many writers in my life, and I think Laura is perhaps the most interesting writer to introduce. You know, her story as an author is one of the most interesting in all of history, actually. And I always recommend people, instead of whatever I can say, go watch the documentary about her, author, the JT LeRoy story. It's available on Amazon Prime. It's super interesting on many different levels, so check it out. And I should note that in addition to The Heart is Deceitful Above All Things, Laura has written Sarah and Herald's End, at least Laura writing as JT LeRoy. And I want to read this quote since we have one of our readers teams with Lena Dunham on a podcast. And at a 2013 symposium with filmmaker J.J. Abrams, actress and writer Lena Dunham said that LeRoy co-opted my imagination for a full year of my life. It was pretty remarkable. And then you also go, this person isn't who they claim to be, but they still wrote this book that captured all of our imaginations. So why does the identity of the author even matter when you're reading fiction and engaging with it in a really personal way, which is a great question. And then, as Laura told Interview Magazine, you know, JT LeRoy does not exist, but he lives. That's what a famous film historian once said about Bugs Bunny as well. So JT definitely lives. and we'll experience him tonight with these fabulous readers. So Nicole and Laura, welcome. Do you have anything to say to the audience tonight?
Welcome, friends.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Hey, Dono.
Hi,
Hey,
I'm here.
is Libby coming?
Yeah, she's upstairs and coming down.
Okay.
The world of Zoom.
Just thank you for that, Grant. That was very beautiful, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Yeah, this will be really great. And we'll hear from more, ask Laura and Nicole your questions, certainly, and we'll hear more from them as things progress. And the first reader tonight, I want to introduce Alyssa Bennett, who will read I Don't Go There Anymore. Alyssa Bennett is the author of Dead is Better, a twice-yearly zine devoted to tales of woe, depravity, drug crimes, and love. She is the co-host with Lena Dunham of the podcast The C Word, and she is currently working on her first novel. Welcome, Alyssa.
I'm working on my first novel.
It won't be your last.
We don't know.
Oh, it's rad. I've had the privilege of reading sections of it, and it's pretty fucking awesome. And Alyssa's one of the funniest people I've ever met.
So
She's got a very fucking great sense of humor, very wry and very like just fucking great.
thank you so much for having me, Laura. It means a lot to me. You know, I love your work, so this is my great privilege to read this excerpt.
Well, thank you.
I don't go there anymore. Haven't seen you around lately, he says, and brushes his hands together. Oh, I don't usually go to this playground, I say, thinking he's the emissary sent by the mommies to check on my credentials. I straighten my back from my usual hunch and try to cover some of the ketchup stains in my pants. But yeah, you look familiar, I think. I attempt a pleasant smile. I slowly pull my feet out and watch the sand roll off like corpses from a salvaged ship. Polk Street, he says calmly. I nod nervously as those words sink in. I glance over to the good mommies watching us industriously, expectantly. I haven't seen you around Polk Street. His voice is imperative. I don't go there anymore, I mumble. The locals that work at Polk Street refer to it as Polk Street. On a few Polk Street's urine-stained blocks near the gay bars, you can find the hollow-eyed boys leaning distractedly against shuttered stores, one leg hooked under the other like a jaded pelican waiting to fish out a date. They hope to run a fast one, get high even faster, only to return, to stand out there again, waiting. I look up at the boys playing, threatening to smash each other with their ping pong balls. He nods critically. I watch him from the side. His face, I can't get it. I think he was a trick. He must be a guy I used to do down on Polk Street. What'd he tell those ladies? What the fuck does he want now? I swallow too loudly. You like little boys? He moves closer to me smoothly and insinuatingly. Huh? I want to get up, to tell him to fuck off, but I can't move. Those mommies are watching us, weighing me down under their glare. He is too close to me and I am unyielding. You like those little boys? Is that why you're here? He puts his hand on my knee, holding me with a measured pressure. Please leave me alone, I mumble. I don't trick anymore, okay? He reaches in his coat. I wonder how much he's gonna offer me. They always liked me, the guys into young boys. You have the face of a diapered babe, the Polk Street host would tell me. And I knew it too. Made my Johns pay extra for it. So this dude is here with his son and he wants to have a date. If those good mommies only knew. Fuck off, I mutter just before I see him unfurl his wallet. Fuck off, I say harder. That's no way to talk to me, son, he says in a controlled growl. His blade wallet contains a shiny policeman's badge, especially when you're loitering at a children's playground. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Alyssa. That was an amazing reading. Yeah. I'm curious because I actually encountered Laura as a writer when I was trying to write a novel about a character who was hustling on Polk Street. And when I read her stories, I was I was deeply, deeply envious and taken by them.
Wow.
And so I'm curious about you as a novelist, if you how you encountered Laura's writing through JT.
Well, I wrote a novel in my 20s, and I read part of it. My first reading was with Dennis Cooper, and it was like right at the Peanut Gallery. It was like right at the apex of the JT mania, and we fucking hated him. Like all of the young writers who were trying to kind of work in the same genre were so threatened by this work, and there was a big push to kind of undercut it because it was too good. You know, like we wanted it to
that's what I felt too.
We thought it was too good, and so there were a lot of rumors about where it was coming from. And I think, you know, at the time it was kind of accepted that JT, and I think JT is a real person. I know at the top of this, we said that JT is not a real person. I think that he is. And I think that, you know, the big drive was to sort of exsanguinate this identity so that we didn't feel challenged by it. It was a big specter in my life as a young writer. And it was an incredible thrill because for me, the work got better when the truth came out. I liked it more. And it was a huge thrill and a big privilege to meet Laura for me. And you know, this story specifically, it sort of resonates because I'm like a mom who has no mom friends. And I remember feeling like this at the park with my son, feeling like I wasn't supposed to be there. So it sort of, hits a tender point, I think, for me.
Well, thank you so much for that. Thank you for the reading, and thank you for recounting that encounter. It almost could be a little essay unto itself, just in case you want to write something.
Thank you so much.
Also, yeah. Our next reader is Winsome. Okay, thanks. Next reader is Winsome Brown, who, in my book, this is my favorite name that I've encountered in 2021. It's always a treat to say it. And Winsome is a multi-talented actor, writer, and director, and she reads Baby Doll in the Heart is Deceitful Above All Things audiobook, as well as the novel Sarah in another Blackstone audiobook released just a few months earlier. She's an Obie winner, award winner for her stage acting, and she has captivated theater audiences in North America and Europe at the Performing Garage, La Mama, Edinburgh Fringe, and numerous other venues. She is currently filming the TV limited series Dope Sick, in which she plays Teresa Sackler. She can also be seen in Paul Greengrass's film News of the World with Tom Hanks. And her other film and TV work includes Supergirl, Elementary, Heights, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and A Master Builder with director Jonathan Demme. Welcome, Winsome.
Thank you so much, Grant. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Nicole. It's so wonderful to be here with all of you. Shall I just start?
You should just start. Sorry, I'm being bad.
Tell me you're from Sarah, not from the heart.
That's right. I was going to say that. I'm because I was the audiobook narrator of the book Sarah, and that informed my reading of Baby Doll. With Nicole, we thought that I'd read an excerpt from Sarah. It's the same characters that we meet in The Heart is Deceitful Above All Things. So I will be reading an excerpt from Sarah. I am just going to, there we go. You're ready for your first date. Glad said. Oh, you can't see me. Okay.
Disappeared.
Okay. All right. Well, there goes that. I was trying to do something interesting, which is to have the use the same screen for both, so that I'd be looking at you.
You need an avatar.
I read from my computer.
Who doesn't?
I need two selves. All right. Starting again. You're ready for your first date. Glad says to me 2 months after I've started my training. I haven't lived at the motel room in a month. I stay at the caravans. Sarah took off with a rich, crooked cargo inspector, and I check the room every day to see if she is back. The plastic attaché case is gone, but her bubbles are still there in the bathroom, so I know she'll come back eventually. I plan to have my own bubbles on the shelf next to hers by the time she gets back. You think you're ready? You feel okay? Glad asks as he helps me get dressed in a muted pink leather miniskirt I couldn't wait to show Sarah when she came home. Ready as snippers at bull ball cutting time, I say, borrowing Sarah's line. I put finishing touches on my makeup the way Sarah taught me. Glad makes me go light on the makeup though. I want to take an iron and straighten out my hair so it flows like floss, but Glad won't hear of it. You really ought not to be wearing any makeup. The natural look will make you more lettuce than a face palette. Men pay for freckles and curls, Glad says, and wipes up my face with a hanky. Glad, you are a sight worse than a mother dressing her daughter for prom night, Sunday laughs. Sunday is a Texas honey blonde with a bone bigger than pies. Sunday's specialty is cheerleaders. You'd be surprised by how many football players want a cheerleader with cock, she says, adjusting the miniature pom-poms in her hair. Glad picked out a truck driver everyone knew. He's a nice man that only wants to diddle you, Sunday says. Remember to watch the clock on the dash, Pie says, and gracefully kisses the air next to either side of my cheeks. Good luck. Glad just wrings his hands and makes me feel nervous. I walk in the flat white Mary Janes Glad made me wear instead of the spike heels I wanted, out of the caravans with everyone seeing me off, past the Doves and into the lower lit fluorescent nighttime of the overnight truck lot. The nice man's truck is right where Glad said it would be, 5 rows in and 7 across. It is a plain truck, nothing special, no custom anything. The door is a dark blue and I can see my face mirrored on it. I squint my eyes so I can pretend I am seeing Sarah's reflection. I am supposed to tell the nice man my name is Cherry Vanilla. But after I knock and he says, "Who's there?" the name Sarah just comes out of my mouth.
Thank you, Winsome.
Thank you
so much, Winsome. Now that I've seen you read twice, I'm so impressed by the way you animate the characters you read, and your choice, or you're forming the characters into an accent. And I'm curious, how did you, what influenced you in choosing and developing that accent for this reading?
Well, each of the different characters, I guess, influenced and brought them their own selves to light through me. But the main voice, the narrator's voice, I mean, I was influenced by the story of J.T. LeRoy. I was influenced by the film Author. I was influenced by all I had seen about that character in the world. And when I met Laura and she invited me to take on this incredible honor of narrating her masterpiece, or one of her masterpieces, bringing to light the whole of it seemed to me to be my task. There I was, somebody who doesn't sound like JT in my own natural voice, but I have a facility with voices and accents and love that. And I don't know, to somehow embody the voice of the narrator through Laura was my task. And then the other characters like Sunday, who's so great, and Pie, who's one of my favorite characters. Each of them just, they're so deftly and discreetly written that they bring their own voices.
Well, with names like Sunday and Pie, you've got to bring your own voice, right?
They're
Let
so
me just
great.
add here that when Winsome began working on the material, she sent us little tapes of various characters to get a sense of what she was going. And when we first heard her do the voice of Sarah, it just was like night and day. It was Sarah's voice.
Yeah. I was particularly, when she gets to Lyman, there's a scene where with Lyman and Sarah, or Cherry Vanilla, I never know what to call him. It's that I heard her do that And I called her up just sobbing because I really, it hit me what I had written, what the experience of encountering a pedophile, and you feel for the pedophile, you understand the entire situation, and the way she expressed it, I was like, I couldn't stop crying. But your lineman's great too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because it's a hard thing to do.
It is, but you write with such soul. Every character, even a pedophile, is explored so humanely that the fullness of that character is allowed to be seen, so that other people can understand who are the Lymans in the world.
Yeah, to not demonize, but to understand the situation. Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, it's never black and white. But hey, Libby.
And we can't fix things that we don't understand also.
Right.
I mean, we need to see. We need to see in order to change.
Right. To see someone's full humanity and understand. Yeah, because that's the only way. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Winsome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Winsome. Our next reader is Laila Hayani, who is going to read Stuff. And Laila Hayani is an artist who was raised in San Francisco and currently resides in New York City. She studied international relations and art before pursuing her career in New York. Her concentration is in editorial and celebrity makeup and grooming. And her work has been published in GQ, Playboy, Interview, Clash, Out, Couture, Paper, Vice, and various other magazines. Welcome, Laila.
Thank you, Grant, and thank you, Laura, for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be amongst all of you. And I was chosen to read Stuff, which is a really special and intimate story that I really resonated with. So thank you, Laura, for choosing me to read this excerpt.
I did. Thank you for reading it. You honor me reading this. Anyway.
I hope I could do it justice over Zoom, considering that I don't have any proper training in this, so please excuse me if it doesn't translate as well as everyone else's. Okay, here we go. Stuff. My sinuses feel Brillo padded by the inhaled oven cleaner. I look through a pixelated haze at our backpack spread out behind us. No one is very far from his stuff. By habit, we've arranged it so if we pass out, we'll land on our stuff. We'll wake if anyone tries to steal any of our stuff. I watch Gotti rise from her turn to use the bathroom and realize none of us are insulted that she takes her stuff with her. We all do the same. Carlin is saying, that's all you need in life, a little place for your stuff. That's all your house is, a place to keep your stuff. If you didn't have so much stuff, you wouldn't need a house. You could just walk around all the time. And man, I think not having a house, living on the street, you kind of become stuff. You're the stuff folks walk over. You're the stuff they have to deal with, have to move past without being guilted into digging out some change. And our stuff is the homeless problem stuff. Some shelters let you in and keep some stuff there, but they go through it. They throw some of your stuff out if they want. Cops always want to take your stuff. Believe me, privacy is not for the homeless. But I have a secret. There are lockers at the Transbay terminals. There are rows of word benches, church pews, usually filled with homeless people sleeping off something. But at night, a lot of them never make it to a bench, and travelers play body hopscotch to get their Amtrak trains. I have a key with a plastic orange square on it, the color of a prison jumpsuit. I keep the key tied to my waist. So if anyone took my stuff, they wouldn't get my key. In the beginning, I moved my stuff to a new locker every day. They had time limits on storing stuff, and folks watched. Homeless folks watched, the occasional guard, and if it was too obvious you were storing your stuff, someone would bust in your locker and empty it for you. One bitter cold day when there had been no convergence of money, I woke up in a shelter and could not swallow. I got up and I fell down, and then I woke up at a general hospital. And I tried to explain I had to get my stuff. I ripped at the tubes that ran into my arms until they had to tie my hands down. I screamed at them, I had to get my stuff. Your stuff will wait, the doctor told me, and inserted some stuff into my IV that made me not care about my stuff anymore.
Thank you so much. Gosh, that was so interesting. Just the cadence of stuff and the different meanings of the word stuff throughout, and the way you read that and made that come alive. I'm curious, you said that this piece resonated in particular to you. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what resonated with you about the story and the writing.
Sure. When I first met Laura, it was the day The Heart is Deceitful Above All Things was released into theaters. I believe it was the premiere, and she had randomly called me at a makeup boutique that I was working at, and I just happened to be one of the people picking up the phones that day. And she had asked me if I could just randomly come to her house and do her makeup for the premiere. And I didn't know her, but I just felt so inclined and just gravitated towards her just over the phone. I didn't look her up. I didn't know her story. I didn't even know anything about JT LeRoy and Laura Albert. And so I ended up going with a friend, and I showed up and I ended up doing her makeup, and we watched the movie together. And it broke me down. I think that we were brought together for many reasons, but one specifically is because of childhood issues and trauma, and there was just a lot of similarities in that. I think it was a bridge for healing in a lot of ways, and so that's when our friendship started and continued from there. And so when she had asked me to read this story, it didn't hit me until I was in the booth reading, and towards the end of it, it just dawned on me like, oh wow, this is very parallel to a lot of my experiences growing up, and I don't think it was by accident that she chose this one for me.
That is fascinating.
It came full circle.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's a great story. I want to remind people to ask questions, and there is one question right now I'm going to pause and ask. I think this is for Laura and perhaps Nicole. It comes from Kyler Bingham, who says, such a wonderful audiobook with such a massive undertaking, getting so many amazing people involved. Where did you start? How did you get the ball rolling? So I guess that's about the production of the audiobook or the coordination of it itself. Laura and Nicole, do you have any perspectives to share?
Well, Kyler has a wonderful podcast called Salt Lake Dirt that I had the privilege of doing. It's a literary podcast, so I just want to, if you want a great podcast, check that out, Salt Lake Dirt. I had tried to do the audiobook, and it was clear that I could not do that. And it was the idea that it's like everybody kind of being JT for 15 minutes, and it was something that it was very important to have people that I felt connected to and I knew could give themselves over to it or allow it to be a part of them, or that part of them that resonates within the story. It happened very when we worked it out with Blackstone. They just did such a wonderful, dedicated job, and Nicole just ran the show. Nicole, do you?
It developed very organically, is I think the point Laura is making. Once we realized that The Heart would not work with a single narrator, it just developed very organically. All the people that were brought in, all were Laura's choices. And several of them I worked with in terms of stories, but not all. And everybody just rose to the occasion. I mean, Laura's casting was impeccable. And being done that way, I think it's going to speak even to an even larger audience. Where something like Sarah needs a concentrated voice that oversees all of it and understands the whole thrust of the material, this range of stories, and plus the audiobook has 11 stories that are not in the original Heart is Deceitful, the things that were added, 7 from the republication and 4 that have not been brought together at all before. And it gave us a chance to bring in folks from all different backgrounds, and it's just a joy to see so many of them here with us today.
Yeah, I sometimes think that Laura channels voices, having written a screenplay with her, and so that's very appropriate that many people are reading, that we're hearing many voices. Well, thanks for that. Next up is Joshua Caleb Johnson, who's going to read.
He's
here yet.
coming. No,
Coming
yeah,
later?
he's doing a cleanup.
Okay. Once cleanup is done.
He's at 6:50. He'll be here.
Okay,
He's shooting-
6:50.
He's
8:50.
filming right now. So
Oh, okay, 18 minutes.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to Donovan Leach, who is going to read from The Heart is Deceitful Above All Things. And Donovan is an actor and singer who has acted in numerous films, including And God Created Woman, The Blob, Glory, Guest Food Lodging, I Shot Andy Warhol, and Love Kills. His television appearances include Sex and the City, Birds of Prey, and Grey's Anatomy. And he also produced the series Breaking Band. Co-founder of the band Nancy Boy, he was also singer for the band Camp Freddy. Welcome, Donovan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before I read this, Brian Young, who I believe used to represent you, when the whole sort of like scandal unfolded, I remember I used to be in Brian's office at Untitled, and all your books were up on the wall, and I was so close with him and I was angry. I was like, why did you not fill me in?
because he knew.
I knew he knew. And he kept the secret. Which is
A lot of people claimed they didn't know. Later, they said they didn't know, but they knew.
He knew. And that was just also, that whole time was such such an important era in my life. I was living in New York at the time, and the whole thing. So thank you for everything. And I'm honored to be a part of this. So I'll read this.
Well, tell me this, did he pull the books and throw them out pretty quickly?
No, he gave me copies of all the books and I still have them here. So I'll send them to you for signatures. All right, I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this passage here. We live in the car, driving until she meets the next one. Sometimes she tells him about me, her brother. Sometimes I'm her sister. Men like girls, not boys, she says. You want to come inside, don't you? Sometimes I stay hidden in the car until she's gone to work. I lie in the cradle at the foot space of the back seat and disappear. Sometimes she gives me the halves of the pills I ask for. They're white, but they make it all dark. Not the dream where my limbs are blown across the open brittle road until red-winged crows descend upon the white sun, carrying my limbs farther and farther until I wake up screaming, struggling to reattach. Sometimes we go into stores and I borrow what she tells me. Under my coat, inside my pants, the bologna packages go. The cold beer bottles slide down my sleeves, the ends held closed with thick rubber bands. So by the time I'm back in the car, my hands are numb and bright white. When I borrow, write, we drive away fast, laughing while stuffing our mouths with strings of bologna and drinking the sour, dull fizz from the bottles. When I borrow wrong, a bottle falls out when I loosen the rubber band, or I get stopped on the way out by sliding doors. Then the world moves, like in those old hand-cranked movies I'd looked at in arcades. Everyone surrounds and moves away from me at the same time. She yanks my pants, and her hand comes down fast across my bare ass again and again. It's a trick, she had told me. They usually stop her, tell her it's okay. They calm her down, give her coffee or something. She tells them I'm a behavior problem, and she cries. They stare at me, shake their heads, and suck their tongues. Sometimes we have to really trick them if they're really mad by spanking me again. Sometimes not in the back private room, but with everyone seeing. It works because they never call the police on me. But when we get back in the car, she doesn't drive away fast and laugh. She stays mad, sometimes for a day or two, not speaking to me at all, not giving me any of what she had to buy, making me be in the back and out of her sight. I know it's not real though. I remind myself she's just tricking them in case they have eyes in the back of their heads like her father, and maybe their eyes went in her car.
Thank you, Donna.
Really good. That was really intense. Yeah. So I'm curious, how did this story or the overall collection influence your approach to the narration?
Well, it was interesting when I was recording it. I mean, being in a booth with your voice in headphones, it feels very isolated and intense. So I think the process of recording an audio piece, you feel the intimacy of it. And I think we all sort of feel that. We all have that like inner voice inside of us, that critic who's like analyzing everything and like going over everything over and over again. And that's what I think this work really represents to me, is just like this battle, this just internal just war that's going on inside of you. And it just it's very real and it's very honest. And it was great. And even just to hear your voice, it didn't take all that long. It was like 20 minutes or something, but it just really was powerful.
Yeah, that's so interesting that it came to you in that type of closed in, claustrophobic environment. Yeah, the intensity of it. Well, thank you so much. We have a couple more questions. Thank you so much. Cecilia asks Winsome, you also do a fantastic job reading Baby Doll in the Heart, which pushes the boundaries by portraying a child who seduces an older, creepy man. It's like the narrative generates a sort of reversed empathy and sympathy for the child, even though they do what they do to be loved, albeit the wrong kind of love. How do you imbue the reading with the exact tone necessary to produce that reaction that instead of shock or disgust brings tenderness and compassion? That's quite a question. Winsome, do you want to give it a shot?
It's quite a question, but I think the answer is simple. It's just reading Laura's words. It's all there in the writing, and the emotions of the character are very clearly there. But I spoke about this with Nicole when I was preparing Sarah. This is Jeremiah's life. This is his understanding of the world. And so there's nothing, his emotions are real, but he's experiencing his life in real time. And so it's just following that text, and the text takes you everywhere you need to go. So it makes my work and all of our work as narrators easy, I think, because Laura's so deft with her language, with her description, with her understanding of moment to moment emotions, and those quick changes. I mean, in Baby Doll, it's pretty shocking when you understand what's happening. As he puts on his mother's baby doll dress and dresses up as her, puts on makeup and seduces his mother's boyfriend. It's scary, it's appalling, and yet he's doing it. It's just actions that are happening one after another. So you just read it. That's it.
Thank you for that. And we're going to move on to Darnell Martin, who is going to read Natoma Street. Darnell Martin is a director, screenwriter, and film producer. Her first film, I Like It Like That, was an official selection at the Cannes Film Festival and won the New York Film Critics Circle Award for Best New Director. Her other films include Prison Song and Cadillac Records. For television, she directed the pilot of Oz, Showtime's The Good Lord Bird, Netflix's Grand Amy, and numerous other television shows. Welcome, Darnell.
Hey, thanks. Oh, actually, that's Grand Army.
Grand Army, did I misread it? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, no, I was like, big fan of Laura's work. Amazing. She's an amazing writer. And when she asked me to do this story, I was like, I got scared, because it's really painful. But there's a lot of power and swagger to it and vulnerability. So I think that's what I connect did too, and this sense of, you know, being a little in love with death, and which is such you know, it's a very it's a topic that's really, you know, that I dealt with as a teenager, and it touched me. You know, it touched me. It's something that scares me now with young people. You know, it's just like you just want to hold them and say, it's okay. You're gonna get through this. You're gonna get through this. You know, and so I think that she really captured this this mixture of vulnerability and swagger, and trying to be in control of in a weird way, your own abuse, you know. So that really touched me, and you know, and scared me. So I was very flattered that she asked me to do this, and I think, you know, I just took the words and tried to give them their space and their time, and, you know, and be honest in the moments. That's it, really. So I'll now read Natoma Street.
Thank you.
The sheet metal door glistens in front of me like an axe on a fire blade, and the sound of my pounding fist on the door echoes through me and down Natoma Street. Each split second of contact with the frozen metal is like a jolt trying to wake or stop me. But all this racing in my blood is too old and too known and too mechanical to be turned back. I stand and wait and watch delicate white puffs of air float out from me. And it's amazing, anything can come out of me. Soon nothing will. I bang the door as hard as I can, bruising my knuckles, and wait a few seconds. Come on, my teeth are clamped. I kick at the door with my boot. They're gonna find me collapsed here, as drained and as empty as if a vampire had fed on me. I kick the door again and again, and it shudders. I feel the pain and desperation in my stomach spread as my blood roars away, feeding on itself. You're supposed to, I kick and hit the metal door. Be fucking here, I yell. From behind me, a window slams open. People sleeping, people sleeping. I turn and look up to see a bald Chinese guy, his face so chubby and squished, he looks like a Buddha. Christmas lights flash like a strobe around him. You go away, go away. From behind me, I hear heavy latches and bolts moving, and I twist around, and it's like opening. It's like an opening in the world with cars, lights, and people passing the mouth of Natoma, and they have no idea I'm here and waiting to be. God damn, you're eager. The door pulls open like a bank vault, and blue light reflects onto the sidewalk. It's just 11:30 now. I don't start early, he says in a deep radio announcer tone. My ears pound, and I look back up to the Buddha man, but he's gone. Just the empty flashing space of his gaping window. Let's go, he orders. And I turn to face him, but he's gone too. I climb into the blue lights and the door that's framed in steel, and it slams behind me. Bolted, I hear from ahead of me. I stare at a puzzle of red and black painted locks and bolts. The bottom, he says. It's a lock that will need a key to unlock. I feel it clink in my stomach as I watch my hand seal me in.
Thank you so much, Darnell. Were you gonna say something, Laura?
For every person that didn't get to hear you read that. That was incredible.
Thank you. I mean, it was all hard. I mean, literally, it's just the it it was very scary to say yes, Laura, because the words are just so powerful, you know, and you know, you you went deep. You went deep.
I've known Darnell since I met Darnell when I was early 20s, and I knew it to handle this. This story is probably the most, well, I don't, yeah, most real for me. I knew that it had to be someone who could fully hold all of it. And I considered very carefully that there was somebody before who couldn't do it, who could not do it, and went into the studio and had to leave. And I realized I'm asking someone to do something that I myself can't do. And I thought for a long time before I approached you, Darnell, and you were the only person I could think that would be fearless enough to be able to do this, and not threatened by it, you know, not destroyed by it either, to be able to go in and walk people out of it. Because that's what you do in your films and your movies, you know. It's to not be transgressive. It's like you're carrying somebody through hell and what the truth is, and then you're escorting them out in a sense. This one doesn't quite escort someone out all the way, but it shows. Thank you for doing that.
Well, thanks so much. It was an amazing experience. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I love the description of the writing as having swagger and vulnerability, and we certainly hit those notes in the reading as well. So thanks so much.
Joshua.
Who joined us? Yay!
There we got Joshua. Yay! So Darnell directed Joshua, the star of Good Lord Bird.
He's amazing. He's gonna be fucking huge.
We got an Oscar winner here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to
Golden Globe, a future Golden Globe.
let's bring Joshua up to read Meteors, just with that as the intro. Future Oscar winner and Golden Globe winner Joshua Caleb Johnson is going to read Meteors.
I'm afraid I'll get hit by a meteor. Sarah had chosen the Southern Lady Society accent. She fanned around her head with her hands, making the gel-haired clumps flutter like tentacles. He stopped blinking and turned to a box and fished around inside it. I have an M-ball chondrite in here somewhere. Oh, good, Sarah sighed and ran her finger under her lacquered lashes. Here. He pulled out a small gray-black rock. We recovered over 1,000 specimens. It was a huge fall. He stared at the rock. She moved in close, pressing up against his shoulders to look at the rock. She moaned and licked her lips. He took a small step away from her. She stepped forward. In Uganda, a boy got hit on the head, he said, looking into his box. I have more from that fall somewhere. I pressed my hand over my pocket. Hit on the head, Sarah gasped. Lord have mercy. He stepped back, quick little steps, and put the rock out in his hand to show her, or to stop her from moving in. He nodded down onto the rock. Well, the specimen was slowed down by a banana tree, so the boy wasn't a casualty. Thank the Lords for the wilds of Africa, Sarah sighed. Out here in the desert, without any banana trees, I fear for our safety. He took another step back. Oh, I assure you, getting hit by a meteorite is extremely rare. I would have loved to meet the boy. He stared from the rock in his palm to the box of rocks. I often dream of visiting Uganda to examine him. I would like to go to Uganda with you. He looked at her quickly, his eyebrows raised, then took a quick breath to say something, but blew it out like a deflating tire. He gave a tight laugh. She shook her hair and smiled and stuck out her hand. My name is Caitlin. Is there a place nearby we can go for a drink? He looked like he'd been punched. After a second of hesitation, he shook her hand. She kept shaking it. Caitlin, I said to myself softly, so I would be sure to remember. I wish she said what my name was, so I'd know if I was going to be a boy or a girl, and how I'd be expected to move. He abandoned his hand to her and fixated on his rocks. I would love a cool beer, wouldn't you? She giggled. For the first time, he looked at me, as if for help. That's my brother, Richard. She waved at me with her free hand. He nodded and smiled at me warmly. I nodded back. Richard, I whispered. I've been Richard a few times.
Oh, bravo.
So much, Joshua, and I've got to apologize. I really put you on the spot by asking you to read immediately when you came into drop down on Zoom. But I was so impressed by how you just so smoothly and quickly went into the character that you were reading from. What about Laura's writing invited you to so sort of easily and gracefully fill that role?
Well, I mean, it's very unique, but it has a nice rhythm to it, if that makes sense in any way. It kind of has like this nice and cool type of flow that kind of made it easy for me to adapt and kind of navigate my way and kind of flow like water throughout the reading the book. So it's really cool.
Flow like water. That's what it felt like when you were reading it.
Thank you.
I'll look forward to your Oscar acceptance.
Thank you.
There's
Thank you so much.
no one works harder than Josh and his mom. And I just want to, I loved hearing that section. You did it so great. And that's actually true about the kid or the getting hit in Uganda then it went through a banana tree. That was actually factual. And I was reading an interview with someone who was talking about wanting to meet and examine the kid. And I just thought that was it's like the way they expressed it, it was like so kind of colonialistic. Like he just had this, like, I need to get there and find this, that I had to weave that into the story. Joshua just brought captured this sense of humor into it. And this kind of, it has to steer against the way the story drives. It can be really sad, but surreal and funny in a very dark way. And Joshua just absolutely captured it.
Thank you.
Without doing any burpees, right, Darnell? Before scene well, you explain it.
There was a scene in Good Lord Bird where Josh was thinking about escaping, and we talked a lot about breath, which is so important in performance, and how we choose to breathe and where we find it. And sometimes you can throw yourself into a state just by the way you breathe. So we can get there from the inside out, right, Josh? Where you do from the inside out, but sometimes we can get there from the outside in, where we take something like breath and we play in that breath, and sometimes can get to a place of hysteria that is absolute real and then connects to all these other memories and so forth, or fear or whatever it is. But the breath can actually bring you there. And so we played with that with burpees, out of breath and having to catch that again.
Mm.
And you thought I was crazy. Right, Josh? When you first met me, I was making
crazy. I was just like, we had talked before we went to dinner and everything, so I didn't necessarily think you were like crazy, but I was just like, I've never done that before. Like, like, I mean, only thing I can really remember is my costume or Katie. She was going crazy. I kept ripping part of the dress when I was doing the burpees. I kept ripping a part of it. And she was like, I didn't to do this for like your character, Josh. But I'm gonna need you to like calm down a little bit, because like you're gonna keep ripping this dress and I can't keep repairing it. So I had to take it a little easier, but it ended up all going well. So
I really wanted to find a way to work in burpees, but it was not necessary.
Next book will include burpees. Yeah, thank you, Joshua. Next reader is Libby Mintz, who's going to read Viva Las Vegas. And Libby Mintz is an actress who has appeared in such films as Sydney White, Fired Up, and Day Out of Days. What's that?
Oh, well.
She said yikes.
Yikes. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that then.
Out of appearing in my own films these days.
Yeah. She also stars in and co-wrote the soon-to-be-released action comedy Habit. Her television performances include the series CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, Modern Family, Victorious, Junior, and Shameless. Welcome, Libby.
Thank you. Very honored to be among all of you.
Thank you, Libby.
All right. Men just dying for hot young blondes. A deer scampers out of the way. She doesn't notice. I have the luck of Satan on the dollar slots, I swear, too. The men are so easy. I roll down the window, and the cool air blowing through my hair makes me squint and fills me with a strange excitement. I imagine birds flying in to steal my maps like breadcrumbs, losing us forever. Now what? She turns to me with such an open, trusting expression. Her eyes are wide, translucent, pale green that I can almost see the world through them. Okay, now you turn left, yeah? My confidence is reflected in her full moving lips, silently and absent-mindedly repeating my directions. Here? Yeah, now after the creek, you turn left. The complexity of all possible outcomes of each turn, each direction, are stored inside me, filling me with strength. Faster, I grunt. I imagine the dart on a runway, sprouting wings and taking off. You can wing cars too. I'll try to do that. She flutters her hands as she talks, almost forgetting the wheel. And get rid of this piece of shit. A stomach ache is making me lean forward. Faster, I order, my heart racing. What? She looks at me. Olive juice. I mouth to her and close my eyes. What'd you say? Faster, faster. I almost yell, the wind howling in my ears. Don't you order me? She speeds up anyway. Let's never ever stop. I laugh hysterically. What? She laughs. I rub my hands over my face and hair like I'm scrubbing myself. Oh, you'll love Vegas. She thumps the wheel. Faster, I whisper. I can't wait. I swear. She wets her lips. Don't stop. I pump my knees up and down. Hey. She starts to slow down. Hey, we miss it? No, I shout. Her hand flies out quickly and like a magic trick transforms into a fist and pounds me once hard on my thigh. I become very still. She slows down some more. The trees are giving way to rocks and shrubs. Now where are we? Her voice is controlled, not like Gretel anymore. Despite myself, I unfold the map. The turn is still a whiles up, I mumble. Don't you fucking try it. She shakes her fist at me. I carefully fold my map into its neat rectangular shape. Try what? I smooth it against my jeans leg. Don't you, she glares at me, ever try to lose me. You fucking hear me? I turn my face to her, smile slightly and inhale. I won't ever lose you, I promise. The turn's still a whiles up. I mumble. I roll up my window.
Wow. That was amazing. Tell me what resonated with you about Laura's writing to give that kind of drama.
It
your
always,
voice.
yeah, it always has. I first saw the film, and I just really connected with the child. I mean, I wasn't neglected to that level or anything, but that was just a connection in the darkness, but also the comedy that you find in there. And like the child is so wise beyond her years. Or, I don't know. It's just always made sense to me. It always felt like somebody I knew.
Interesting. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Our last reader, I believe, tonight is Pamela Sneed, who's going to read Took Question. And Pamela Sneed is a New York-based poet, writer, performer, and visual artist, author of Imagine Being More Afraid of Freedom Than Slavery, Kong, and other works, Sweet Dreams, and two chaplets, Gift by Belladonna and Black Panther. She has been featured in the New York Times Magazine, the New Yorker, Art Forum, Hyperallergic, and on the cover of New York Magazine. She teaches widely, has performed at the Whitney Museum and MoMA, and she appeared in Nikki Giovanni's The 100 Best African American Poems. In 2018, she was nominated for 2 Pushcart Prizes in poetry, and she will publish a poetry and prose manuscript, Funeral Diva with City Lights, in the fall of 2020. I guess that already came out. Yeah, that's out. Okay.
Yeah, that was last year's bio. I should have updated it, but you know.
I should have noticed that.
Awards, a lot more honors.
So
yeah,
everybody can.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, thank you, Pamela. I look forward to your reading.
Okay.
I just want to say that Pamela, I think, is my oldest friend here. Yeah.
I remember when I first met Kamal. Some trick was picking up boys, cutting them up, tying them, burning them, maybe even killing them. The rumors got worse every day. This one kid I vaguely knew, Clementine, wound up in a mental ward because this dude held him for days and fucked with him badly. Kamal guaranteed, or your pain and suffering cheerfully refunded, only dates he knew. Plus, he rented a few SRO hotel floors you could rent from him. It snowed with peeling paint and the floor crunched if you walked it at night from water bugs, but it felt safer than card tricking or going to a date's house. He got me a room that I shared with 2 others. It had a hot plate, a tiny fridge, and a pet rat. The bathroom was in the hall and usually clogged and flooded or filled with a junkie knotted out, work still stuck in his or her arm. I kept any valuables hidden in the park or at lockers at the bus terminal. Anything I left got snagged. If it wasn't too cold, the park smelled better. Kamal was very friendly, but businesslike, straight up, and that's why everyone liked him. They were scared of him too, and I guess I liked that also. It was supposed to be just a business type deal, no pimp crap. I was still an outlaw, worked for myself. But somehow that didn't happen. The rent kept going up, as well as the cost of food in the fridge that I never really got my share of, the tab I had at the diner, and the cost of fake IDs or clothes Kamal bought me. Somehow it just started where I turned over all my money to him. Because he was caring, keeping me from using too much, giving me only a little so I wouldn't OD. He was concerned and he'd compliment me, but he never had sex with me no matter how hard I tried. Chefs can't taste their own cooking, he'd tell me. I worked harder than any of his boys just to get those nods he would throw me. But then there was this new boy, younger and blonder than me. I didn't even get the nods anymore. I had started stacking on him, holding back, and he didn't even seem to notice. I started tricking for drugs, a big Kamal no-no. I felt like the dog with a scratched nose from the half-open cans thrown into the yard. Can't even be bothered to take off the fucking lids. So I bit back.
Thanks so much, Pamela. And we've got to wrap things up here, but as Laura's oldest friend among us, Can you tell us when you first encountered her writing?
And
or
I don't
J.P.'s
mean
writing?
age-wise.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is that, I mean, we trained together at the new school. We were in the same, rooms with the same teacher and like working on our fiction. So, I mean, that's like blood bond. I mean, we just, we grew up together as writers. So I don't know, like that Laura's voice is always, with me. We started out together. We're still together. And I think, both of our works, speak to each other. And then the piece that I read, Trick Question, there was like stuff about like gospel and like redemption. And I guess Kamal's listening to, the radio. And while he's getting ready to, punish the character for stacking on him and stuff. And so I don't know, like that gospel blaring through. I mean, I grew up in the church, and my grandfather was a Baptist preacher. So I feel like, it was particularly handpicked for me because I understand. So.
Thank you so much.
When we met, I was actually in foster care. I was going to college, and I felt so many of the stories listening to people read. These are the stories of the people I'd been in and out of institutions. By the time I went there, I had already been spent about almost a year in a hospital. And then about 3 years in foster care. And I felt so not enough, and that I didn't fit in, and that Pamela was not just kind to me, but kind of I felt so invisible, but and that was a big theme throughout my being, that that she made me feel that, or allowed me to feel that I was worthwhile, that I had presence and substance, and my voice was important to even begin to tell, to write. And unfortunately, I was forced to write in a female voice when I needed to only write in a male voice. That would take a little time, but it just meant so much to me, because Pamela seemed to me at the time to fully know who she was. That's how it looked to me, and I wanted to have that. And I will be forever grateful to for her just acknowledging, for loving. It's like they say, let us love you until you can love yourself, and I felt very loved on. And she stayed with me through some horrible times, like came with me through a trial, was there, and I could look out when it felt like people were trying to set me on fire, and Pamela would be just smiling and give me this look like, I'm here, I got you, whatever else is going on, I got you, I know who you are. And so Pamela, the acclaim comes and goes. The people whether they're throwing roses or throwing rocks, you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. You have the people who are just, no matter what, they got you, they know, and you've been that. And I can say that about all of you here, So just thank you. Just thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Grant, Grant, you're
Buster thanks you too. Thank you so much. I think that's a nice way to end everything, and we're a few minutes beyond time, but just to remind people that The Heart is Deceitful Above All Things, read by many of these great narrators, is available on audible.com, Libro FM, I guess anywhere you buy your audiobooks. So buy the book, definitely. Anything else to add, Laura? Or Nicole? Yeah, I think.
Thank you to Blackstone, and thank you for everyone here for reading, and just just
Yeah, thanks to everybody who tuned in as well and asked questions. So
Yeah. Hashtag thank you. I'm saying, yeah.
thank you so much, everyone. Buy the book. You can listen to these stories again.